It's Monday night, and though Groundhog Day doesn't come for another week, hard to believe it's already February almost already, it certainly feels like Groundhog Day. It's cold again in Erie, the snow is back, and the Patriots are back again in the Super Bowl. In case you're wondering how my weekend went, it's been miserable and insufferable. I had to shovel my driveway 4 times yesterday in the midst of my wife getting to, again, talk about how her team is far superior to my team. So, as you can imagine, my life is great right now. Hopefully, yours is a little bit better. Welcome in, everybody. It's a new week. It's a great night tonight because we got Rustbelt Rundown here on the Gem City Sports Podcast Network. It's brought to you by our friends at Rustbelt Investments. They do great work, whether they're in a great mood or not. They're always in a great mood. Todd Repp's doing a great job both with our show and with his company. Rustbelt Investments keep financial guidance simple. If you want more info, go to their website, www.rustbeltinvestments.com, or you can call their phone number during normal business hours. That phone number is 814-734-3433, 814-734-3433. Packed show on the horizon tonight. Let's show you what we got heading up for this show this evening. Of course, we're starting with Mike McCarthy, 62-year-old getting hired by Pittsburgh. We're reacting to that. And then we're playing a nice little fun game. We're going to talk about the Browns job, Bills job, see if anyone's going to take that and who we think could be in the works. Because right now, as of today, we still don't have a head coach for these two teams. And then the fun game we play a little bit later in the show is this. Wayne and Nick are going to try to identify one player, any player, college player, current pro player, free agent, tradable guy that we think our 3 local teams need to go after this off season, because clearly all 3 of our teams absolutely do need to make that happen. Can't wait. Going to be a fun show this evening. Glad you're with us. Last show in Rustbelt Rundown for the month of January. Let's make it a good one. Nick Artman, Wayne Bradford on the program with us tonight as we have a packed house. First time in a while the 3 of us have got together, gentlemen. It's good to see everybody back around the horn. Everyone doing well. Things going okay. Nick, I know you're getting over a little bit of a cold, but I mean, I feel like everyone is at this point, right?
Well, listen, when you have small kids, as soon as they go back to school, your chances of getting sick just fly through the roof, right? Couple that with the fact that I started back in-person classes this week, so I didn't have a chance. I picked up the slippery rock plague, as my students call it, and yeah, it's been a slow uphill climb, but I got the halls right here. I just finished up a cup of tea. I'm excited to hang out and chat with you fellas.
Wayne, kids doing okay down south? I know the ice and the snow is hitting further south more than it is here in this area.
Yeah, everybody made out fairly well south. The one that's in the midst of it is over in Bethlehem, Allentown area. They got about 2 feet over there. So, they got more snow than us for once. But they work from home. They got the baby, so everything's good right now.
So, Nick, tell me, are you the professor to cancel class at the first sign of snow and cold, or are you Mr. Grind It Out professor that's going to keep things scheduled no matter what?
So they make fun of me because obviously I'm coming from Edinburgh, right? Stereotypically, I drive from Edinburgh to Slippery Rock. We get way more snow up here than they do down there. So usually it's, 1.5 feet of snow here and grass and Slippery Rock, but it's actually flipped this week. They got more snow down there, but I'm fine. I don't mind. I like driving in the snow. I'm the idiot that when they show the newscast and they're telling everybody stay off the roads and there's that one car driving down 79. That's likely me. I like it. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. Get out of my way. So no, I'm less likely to put my courses online. And of course we don't, since the COVID era, we don't cancel classes anymore. You just put them remote. So they still have that day. Put them online, be available via Zoom, whatever. So no, I'm probably least likely to cancel.
Okay, so I'll tell you what. I caught myself yesterday. This is crazy. Never would have thought that I would have this mentality still. But Wayne, Nick, you both have kids. Obviously, I have kids. I remember when we were growing up, one of the coolest things that I got to experience in mornings of winter was when you would wake up, you turn the TV on, and you'd look to see if your school had a 2-hour delay or was canceled.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was the hope. Everything was in alphabetical order. So for me, you got to the G's, and I was like, all right, come on, General McClain, let's go. I knew if I got to Northwestern, it was too far. Like we didn't have one. And I caught myself yesterday as the NFC Championship game was going on and Fox had the closes and delays. I caught myself looking for General McClain again. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I was back in 3rd grade looking for another closing and cancellation. Like that used to be one of the coolest things. And now I feel like that's taken away, Nick. I mean, maybe you have kids in grade school because you probably get a notification, you get a call, you get a text from the school. There's not that run up to it anymore. It's just kind of sent to you.
No, we literally just got, right as the countdown started for the recording tonight, the GM just announced their 2-hour breaking news, General McClain School District 2-hour delay tomorrow.
Wow.
So I get the text message, right? The text message says, this is what it is. This is what's happening on Tuesday. And then I get, the email that comes out through. I guarantee you, oh, nope, hasn't happened yet. I'll get a phone call here in a little bit from GM as well. So no, they don't. My kids, they'll never know that slog of waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, watching the ticker like it's draft day, waiting to see your name called.
That was the best, man. Wayne, was that you too when you?
Oh yeah, I loved it. You know what I mean? I lived in Maryland growing up, so not as prevalent. But if we got snow in the forecast, we knew we were going home early, or going in late, whether it was a quarter of an inch, a half an inch, or nothing showed up.
Yeah.
So shout out, as we conclude this short talk, shout out to my brother, by the way, Samuel, who's finishing up grad school at Old Dominion. He texted me 2 days ago, showed me a picture of snow. They never get snow down there in Norfolk. And he shows me a picture of 6 inches of snow and how bad it is and how they're canceling all these classes. So he had today off. Well, what do I get a few hours ago? A text from him as he's on the golf course because the snow and melting. It's back to 70 degrees. All you, I'm sure, if those down living south, you'll be fine. Trust me.
Tough life.
Stay off the road for a day. You'll be fine. All right, let's get into the show. That's enough of the snow. We want some positive news. Maybe this news isn't so positive, but let's get into it and talk about our favorite. That might not be what Steeler fans are saying to Mr. Rooney this morning and this afternoon, and when we found out the news this weekend, because I didn't expect that the Steelers guys would be the first one to hire a coach, but they do. Mike McCarthy is heading to Pittsburgh. The age-old tradition of the Pittsburgh Steelers hiring old offensive-minded retreads strikes again, and I'm sure you can hint at my sarcasm. This is not what we expected from Pittsburgh, but maybe it's what we expected on this show because, Nick, you've been out for the last couple of episodes, and Wayne's done a really good job of, I think, predicting literally everything that has happened so far during the coaches cycle. So I'll start with this, and I want to go to you first on this, Wayne. We're going to react right now to Mike McCarthy going to Pittsburgh. But you said, I think when we went around the table, Wayne, about who the Browns should hire and the Steelers should hire, you listed Mike McCarthy as a lead candidate for both of these jobs. Are you surprised that Pittsburgh made the hire, and why do you think they did? Because clearly you saw something in this guy that a lot of people online, including I think Nick and myself, probably do not.
Yeah, he's won 172 games, 18 winning seasons, second most wins in Packer history. Got a lot of tradition, done a lot of great things. I think most important thing is the bridge with Aaron Rodgers. If you're going to get Aaron Rodgers to come back in 2026, this is a guy that, he has an affinity for, and he's going to package the offense, around Rodgers, being the gun, quick throws, things we talked about that we thought was in conflict the last two quarterbacks with Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith wants to be a 12 personnel under center guy. And, so I think it makes perfect sense. I think you want to, get the fan base back. It's a local guy. And he's proven there aren't any other proven ones out there, or weren't at that particular time, when the job was open.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the most experienced. No doubt about that. And Wayne, I appreciate your positive outlook on this. I think you're probably one of the select few here. Nick, I want to give you the floor because I really don't know what direction you're leaning with this. But you had talked way before this on previous iterations of Rustbelt Rundown that, look, the time for Tomlin's probably done, right? That's all well and done with. He's on a beach somewhere watching his daughter compete, whatever it be. Your thoughts on Mike McCarthy and the left turn that Pittsburgh took compared to what they normally do with coaching hires?
I went through the ringer with this one because it was one of the only calls I think I've made in the history of Gem City Sports that actually came true, and that was Tomlin stepping down, willingly stepping down before his contract was open. So I'll take those flowers there. But when I saw this happen, my immediate reaction was, why? Like it just didn't make sense in terms of, like you said, that template that the Steelers typically follow and what they typically do at the head coaching position. And at first I was like, well, this is dumb. This is just more of the same. But I was more of like the fan knee-jerk reaction, I think, in me. So then I just, started to think about it, what he brings to the table, where the team currently sits. And I've actually come full circle on this. I think this is a sneaky good hire. I think that it's not, you can't look at this as the Noel Cowher, Tomlin, this coach is going to be here for 30 years, 15 years, because obviously he's an older coach. I think he is a great bridge to something else, right? And if you look at the makeup of this team, the team still has an older build. They're not going to blow it up. They're not going to trade Cam Hayward. They're not going to trade TJ Watt. So the roster turnover is not really going to happen. So if you're still in a win now mentality, which is kind of what what Rooney said in the press conference, is we're not trying to rebuild, we're trying to keep going. I think McCarthy makes perfect sense. Now, I'm yet to be excited by the hire. I think it makes sense. I like it. I think the possibility of it working is better than not, but I think a lot of it is going to hinge on the coordinator hires and who he brings in. There's a lot of smoke around that as well. Let me put it this way. I thought this was awesome. I saw this on X. Jim Aiello, at Jim Aiello, he's a senior NFL editor for The Athletic. He put it this way. All right, if the Steelers would have hired John Harbaugh, would your reaction be the same, Isaac? Would you be bummed about Harbaugh?
I haven't given my reaction yet, so I'll plead the fifth.
Okay, well, I'll wait. So I'll put a pin in that. So where he posted this kind of side by side of Mike McCarthy and John Harbaugh. Harbaugh's 1 year older. They've both been a head coach for 18 seasons. Harbaugh has won 6 more games, 180 versus McCarthy's 174. Mike McCarthy's playoff record is 11-11. Harbaugh's is 13-11. They both have 11-10 win seasons and have won 1 Super Bowl. I think if Harbaugh was hired by the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think the fan base would be ecstatic. But since it's Mike McCarthy and like the face of it, I think they're upset by it. But I don't know if that means that's a bad hire for John Harbaugh or a good hire for Mike McCarthy. I'm taking it as a good hire for Mike McCarthy, and I think, like I said, a lot's going to come down to who he ends up bringing into the coordinators and what the changes happen to the offense. And that's why you hire a guy like Mike McCarthy to revamp and change this offense.
Fascinating responses, gentlemen. Very well thought out. I'm sure you both had a lot of time to process this and think about this. And it wouldn't be a podcast without some discourse, and I'm glad I get to go the other way on this. I don't understand this move at all.
I already knew you were going this way. That's why I set you up. I knew you were going this way.
And I think what for me, even though I had listed Mike McCarthy on a short list of candidates for Pittsburgh, it's why I never picked him on the show to be the head coach, because I didn't think it makes sense. And I think it just screams to me one thing, that Art Rooney simply
can't handle the truth.
I don't think this roster is near good enough to win a Super Bowl. I think this has been very well documented in the last few seasons. As you mentioned, Nick, they're getting very old, specifically on the defensive side of the football. And the one positive that Mike McCarthy would bring to this team that's different from what Mike Tomlin brought, because they've had similar success, right? You put Tomlin, Harbaugh, and McCarthy together and their resumes are comparable. I'm actually glad you brought that up, Nick. And as an aside, no, I'd actually be even more furious if they hired John Harbaugh, to be quite frank, given the discourse. And I think Wayne's probably happy Harbaugh's gone too. But anyway, I digress. You look at Mike McCarthy and his track record, he can develop quarterbacks. I will give him that. I think that's the one thing that he can do that Tomlin could not. Here's the problem. There's nobody on that roster currently that is in a place of contention to do so. If you think Will Howard is your guy, well, then you're going to have to figure out a way to develop him very quickly, because he's a 5th-round pick, a guy who struggled down the stretch at Ohio State, and somebody who I think if he's going to have to develop, you need to find guys around him offensively to help him do so. Your running back situation isn't really where it needs to be right now, although I think Jaylen Warren's a decent option. Outside of DK, you have 0 receiving depth, which made very obvious in games this season, and DK gets double-teamed all the time. And until you find an offensive coordinator that can use your tight end personnel, they're just blockers for you, because they clearly were underutilized in the playoff run and in the stretch part of the season. All that suffices to say is this. If Mike McCarthy is able to develop a quarterback, that's all well and good. But did you watch the AFC Championship game this past Sunday? And I understand it was in a snowstorm and in a tundra. But you look at the 4 teams that were in the championship round, right? Mike Vrabel is 50 years old. I'm not saying he's a spring chicken, but he's certainly not an old-time head coach. The 2 guys on the other side in Seattle and L.A., 2 young bucks, 2 guys who have tremendous offenses, and their side of the football gets it. They have a unit that is an absolute unit, for lack of a better word. Without a quarterback, Sean Payton's team was lost offensively. completely lost offensively. And even without the snowstorm, they score on the opening drive, and in the first half, they don't do anything else. So here's my concern. Mike McCarthy, to me, was brought in to specifically be a quarterback whisperer for the Steelers. And if he can create one, great. But what's the rest of the talent around this team? Because if it's just the quarterback, we have seen around the league that a quarterback alone is clearly not enough to win you a Super Bowl. Case in point, the Buffalo Bills. So I just don't see, based on his track record, Mike McCarthy with enough previous success, Mike McCarthy with enough examples that he can develop an entire unit. And to me, he's on the same level as Tomlin and Harbaugh. It's not like he's broken through with young guys. It's not like he's had tremendous success building units. He just hasn't. He's a great quarterback coach. And so I don't see this being any different than Tomlin, except he's an offensive guy. And to your point, Nick, he's not going to be with the organization more than a few years. So you better nail this quarterback, because if not, to me, this is a catastrophic failure for Pittsburgh.
Catastrophic failure.
It is.
Who would you have taken?
I'd have hired a young guy. I probably would have looked at Clint Kubiak. Would have been one of my top options. I still think Chris Shula, despite yesterday's result, and I know that's probably laughable based on the way their defense played, I still think he was a decent option. I would have even looked at a few other offensive coordinators in the league. Probably not Cliff Kingsbury, but there are others. I look at a situation like this, guys, and there's a reason to me why he was only getting interviews in Pittsburgh. I just don't think the way the league is.
I think other people talk to him. I think some other people talk to him, but
maybe,
I think
but nothing official.
But you have to understand, the catastrophic failure, then it's the ownership and the organization. You know what I mean? Because this is an organizational fit. This is a city fit. This is a culture fit. That's what's most important to the Rooneys and the organization. It's about more. I know you're going to say, what are you, crazy? It's about more than making a splash with a Mike McDaniel, who would have walked in and just gotten eaten alive by these fans. So it takes a special person to coach in this environment, and I'm not sure any of those young guys could have handled it.
Yeah, I understand the point you're making, Wayne. I think the problem that I have with that is when you talk about organizational fit, he fits with the team. He fits with the culture. To me, that screams comfortable. The Rooneys made a comfortable hire. And I don't think this is the time.
They've been where they've been. They haven't been innovative. If you look at the rest of the division, outside of Cleveland and the conference, the teams that they've played have innovated offensively, have innovated defensively, and they have not. They've done it the way they've done it for the past 25 years.
But that's what I'm getting at, is if you wanted to be innovative, why not take a big swing? Because for 19 years, this offense, outside of maybe a couple of years with Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown, they haven't ever been able to get over that middle of the pack at best hump. This was your opportunity to take a swing, to hire a guy who was going to come in with new creative ideas. And I'm not saying McCarthy isn't a great offensive coach. He's better than most. I get that. But I feel like this organization is so indebted to the Steeler way, right? And the way that it's always been. And I get concerned at that because it hasn't yielded success. And I think this hire specifically, Nick, we're going to find out really quickly whether this is on the team or whether it's on Tomlin, because I don't think that this is much of a different hire outside of McCarthy's on the offensive side of the ball and Tomlin's not.
No, I mean, I think you're right in that last sentence where you're saying, you're going to see if this was Tomlin or if it was the offense. And it is more likely to be offense than it is or team than Tomlin. I will push back a little bit on the hiring process. I think, to Wayne's point, I don't think any of these young guys came in and blew them away, right? Because the Steelers, Mark Caboli was one of my favorite guys to watch through this process. He's still one of my favorite Steelers writers to keep an eye on, local beat guy. And he said this at the start. He said, they will be patient and they will make sure they hire the right guy. Nobody expected Tomlin to come in and win that job. He came in. He was impressive. He blew their socks off. They gave him the job when nobody else thought it made sense to give Tomlin a head coaching job. I don't think any of these guys did that. I think Flores maybe would have been a good, not like their backup plan. I don't think any of the people, I like Clint Kubiak on paper too. I like the Rams coordinators on paper as well, but there's a lot of youth there, to Wayne's point, and I just don't think they came in strong enough to have won over Rooney and Khan and the rest of the brass there in Pittsburgh. So McCarthy was maybe the best available option. I did read he came in with an offensive game plan. This was per Ed Warder of the NFL. He actually said that he came in with videos and graphics, his long history of coaching, his plan for developing coaching. I agree with you. I don't think Will Howard is it. We'll talk about who my player I think they may go after later in the show. But I think it makes sense from where the Steelers are currently sitting. Could it very well be a 2-3 year hire if it falls apart? Absolutely. And at that point, the roster will be in rebuild mode. I just think it's a good hire to be that bridge and see what this team really is. Is it team? Is it coach? You got the offensive guy. I'll just come out and say I don't think Rodgers is coming back, but you have a guy that can develop an offense, find somebody to take control of that defense, and I think it's a solid hire.
Wait, I'll give you the last part of the floor here, but I just want to make one comment. And I'm glad, Nick, that you brought up the process of which the Steelers claimed they were going to make this coaching hire at, because I think it's so hypocritical. They said they would take their time. It was a 12-day search. They said that they were going to go be thorough in the process. Reportedly, half of the people that they wanted to interview were either in the championship round or couldn't be interviewed until next week. They didn't take their thorough due diligent time, reportedly, right, to make those hires. And you talk about that they weren't very impressed with some of the young guys. Well, Mike Tomlin couldn't have been 100% a surefire slam dunk when he was hired. Bill Cowher surely could not have been a slam dunk, surefire 100% guy when they hired him. The last three coaches they have hired are, for that specific reason, risks. They believed in the potential for these guys. And so it's just amazing to me how they decide to make a pivot in a time where I think they really needed a new, young, creative, innovative mind, and they go the other direction. Wayne, I'll give you the last part of the floor on this because I know you probably think I'm crazy, but
I don't think you're crazy. I just think that you're not giving McCarthy enough credit for being innovative. You know what I mean? West Coast guy, been around some great, he comes back into Dallas and he really turns that Dallas franchise around, you know what I mean? And wins a lot of games, and they're not very good defensively, but offensively, with what he did with Dak Prescott, if you just look at that track record, I'm thinking, hey, there's a guy, so I think we're harping too much on he's old, he's stale, he's not innovative. A guy who, same thing, a guy who lasts that long in the NFL has a great message. John Harbaugh has a great message. The message just needs to be elsewhere right now because it got stale where it was. Tomlin had a great message, but it got stale. It's got to go somewhere else. So I think McCarthy, and to me, this got to be his dream job. The guy grew up down the street, man. He doesn't want to fail. He knows what it's all about. And I think that's important, to the Rooney family.
Yeah.
He's a Yinzer.
Sure. And he's going to have to realize that it's going to be a quick transition. He's going to have to make this work quick because the fans are already against him. He's not getting
so expectations are low. That's the greatest thing ever. Right?
I'm not so sure the expectations are low.
Sam Darnold. I was waiting for Sam to make the mistake last night.
Okay.
The throw late and Jigba a little bit sooner. But he never, ever, ever made a bad play last night.
Can you tell that Wayne's still hyped up on coffee because he got zero sleep last night from watching his Seahawks make the big game?
Actually, I have not had coffee for quite some time. I'm into Nick Artman's tea, man. I have cut caffeine out.
Well, I don't think any of us on this show drink caffeine. So good for you. Bringing the energy, Wayne, when your team and maybe you and Allie can get together and celebrate because I'm in shambles right now. I'm the lone wolf on this show for the Mike McCarthy decision, and my team is nowhere near where they need to be to win the Super Bowl. And in my opinion, they just hired a bad coach. All right, I digress. We're going to get into who they should pick up, the Steelers, in just a couple of minutes. And Nick actually has a foreshadowing, I think, as to who their quarterback could be. So stay tuned for that in a moment. But before we get to that, I just want to touch quickly on the two jobs that haven't been filled yet. Nick, I think I was hoping that you being on the show tonight would be a good omen for one of these two teams, that they were hire a head coach. But give me your thoughts as to who you think the Browns and the Bills should hire and why it's taking as long as it is in your mind, because we haven't really gotten a chance to talk to you on this. The Bills looked like they were going to go with Phillip Rivers earlier in the week, and then he pulled out. It seems to me like it's Joe Brady's job to lose. Meanwhile, for Cleveland, they're probably just going to hire the first guy that accepts an offer from the Browns. And I unmute your mic here, Nick, because I think Browns fans.
I was too busy coughing.
Have to say,
I was too busy coughing. No, you took the words right out of my mouth, because I was going to say they'll take whoever they can get at this point, because nobody wants the job. I think with the Browns, it's just that there's so much negativity that comes with that team right now. There's no clear plan for the future. When you see. Oh gosh, the offensive coordinator for the Jaguars, his name is escaping me. Fill me in. Udinski?
Yeah.
He comes out and walks it back today. I don't know. What I saw left, who are the four guys left? Okay, so the four guys left are, you have Anthony Lynn down in Washington. You got Todd Monken still there. I still think it's going to be Jim Schwartz for two reasons. One, I think he brings a lot of consistency. I think that defense really excels under him. He's a leader. He understands the culture. I think that he would be a great head coach for the Cleveland Browns in where they currently lie, right? They have Pro Bowl quarterback Shedeur Sanders. So
Pro Bowl quarterback, baby.
They can now sell that. They can sell that to their next one. I don't think Anthony Lynn is a great hire. Todd Monken, I don't mind that as a head coach, but I just think with the Browns where they are and in the state of the team, the strength of that team is going to be the defense. Hire Jim Schwartz. Go get an offensive coordinator to help rebuild that offense, or give Shedeur, or go draft Ty Simpson, or whatever. Figure that part out. But I think it's going to end up being Schwartz's job.
You and Wayne are in lockstep on that. Wayne has been harping for Schwartz for weeks, and I'm on your guys' train too. If you don't have a good replacement outside, just hire in-house. I'll say this though, it's probably not going to happen. But if you're out of candidates and you need someone to coach your Pro Bowl quarterback, who better than old Pops to come to Cleveland? that probably is like a plus 10,000 right now, but Deion Sanders, I feel like, has to still be on the board. If I had my druthers, I think that would be great. Anyway, I digress. Wayne's gonna beat me over the head with the stick. All right, Wayne, how about for the Bills? Their coaching search right now seems like it's gotten somewhat stale, although I think they probably still have some candidates that they really haven't reached out to yet. To me, it's Joe Brady at this point, because I think everybody else that would be a top candidate is out, at least at the moment. What do you see with Buffalo right now?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, right? I thought right from the beginning Cleveland should just go with Schwartz and hired an offensive coordinator after they hired him. And then, we talked about the demise of, McDermott, and you think Pittsburgh's dysfunctional or Cleveland's dysfunctional right now?
Oh,
Buffalo might have taken the cake and really, destroyed their chances of ever winning a Super Bowl with Josh Allen, because, you would think that this would be a very attractive job with that quarterback, new stadium, that fan base. Why is no one going? So it's probably going to be Schwartz by default in Cleveland and Brady by default in Buffalo. I don't know if anybody wants those two jobs.
I think let me jump in here real quick. I think it's Daboll. I think it's absolutely going to be Daboll. I thought that Kubiak was in the running. I think they would have been willing to wait for Kubiak. I don't know that they're willing to wait 2 more weeks. If they are, everything I've read, Kubiak looks good. You got that young up-and-comer to come alongside Josh Allen. But now that you got to wait another couple weeks, I see Daboll as being the winner in this situation because you have, like you said, the Pegulas make a knee-jerk reaction. They let go of the coaching staff that's there. You had Joe Brady. If you were going to go ahead and promote him, I feel like they would have done that by now. Josh Allen's had some of his best years of development under Daboll. Daboll, I've read today, is likely to be the offensive coordinator of the Titans if he doesn't get the Bills job. I think he walks away with the Bills job.
But why would you hire him as the head coach of the Bills? He failed miserably as the head coach of the Giants.
But they loved him as the OC, and he performed well in Buffalo. So he knows the system.
Well,
he knows Josh Allen.
So if you hire him, does that mean he's the OC and you lose Brady? I mean, you can't have the best of both worlds, right?
He would call plays. I think for sure he would call plays. So then you'd have a Rams situation where you have an OC that's not really calling the plays,
or an OC who leaves, because
yeah.
You're asking greener elsewhere.
Honestly, as big as I am on Schwartz to the Browns, I think if you're Cleveland, you're going to wait to see what the Bills do. And if the Bills don't hire Joe Brady, I'd go after him in a heartbeat. Oh my goodness, that would be an amazing hire for Cleveland, I think. And you keep Schwartz at the DC. But those are all the mental gymnastics that we're doing. And maybe next week they'll have coaches. But I did not expect Pittsburgh would be the first of the three local teams to hire a head coach, but here we are. I also didn't expect New England back in the Super Bowl, but here we are again. Keep hitting the nail over the head. All right, we're going to get to our one player that our three teams need in 2026. Before that, though, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Rebich Investments. They keep financial guidance simple. If you want more info, it's very simple. Go to their website at www.rebichinvestments.com, or you can call their phone number at 814-734-3433. Rebich Investments, keeping financial guidance simple. All right, it is game time, ladies and gentlemen. Three of us back in the saddle for this show, and tonight we thought with the off season's beginning for these three teams that we would play a bit of a game, and I've asked the guys to come up with one player. This can be a player still in college that could be draftable, a player that could be traded for, or a free agent that all three of our local teams need to go after. And I want to start the conversation with Pittsburgh based on what Nick kind of foreshadowed there in the quarterback situation. So I'll start with you, Nick. Anything is on the table here. Give me the player that you think the Steelers need on their team and need to target in the offseason. I'm curious to hear about this.
All right, so I already know it's coming, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it.
Is it Joe Burrow?
No. Oh gosh, I would take that in a heartbeat if I was the Steelers. Right. Oh yeah. Pro Bowl winning quarterback. You might as well go get Pro Bowl winning quarterback Tyler Huntley.
Jersey.
Yeah. No, I think who they need to go out and get is a quarterback that fits that West Coast style offense that Wayne was talking about earlier. You have the coach, you need the quarterback. You're going to, okay, I get it. All the talk around Will Howard, Ohio State winning quarterback. He's a good kid. I agree with Isaac there. I don't think he's the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So here's what I'm saying. I'm saying the value on this quarterback couldn't be lower. You have roughly $37 million in cap, so you can afford to take on a big contract. The Miami Dolphins are currently in flux. I say throw a dart at Tua Tagovailoa, and here's why. The cost, for one. The cost is going to be, mid-round pick at best? Maybe you do a Brock Osweiler thing where they even give you a pick to take them off your hands to get that contract off the books. But here's why I think it makes sense. Tua is not a great quarterback. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But they need a new quarterback coming into the 2026 season, and the options are slim. I actually think Miami will be the ones to go get Malik Willis, with Hafley being the new head coach down in Green Bay. He's familiar with Malik Willis. They're going to spend a ton of money if they can free up some cap space to go get a guy like Malik Willis. Willis being the best possible free agent quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, then they got to hit the trade market. Kyler Murray is another one that's out there. I am not the biggest Kyler Murray fan. I don't think he's got an NFL caliber arm. He can't read a defense the way some of these other guys are. Tua's strength is his ability to read a defense and to throw quick strikes. That fits that West Coast style offense. So I think you get Tua Tagovailoa on the cheap. You can eat some of that contract because the Steelers have the cap space to do so. And I think, okay, let's try it out. Let's see what it works. If not, you got a high draft pick next year for the 2027 draft, and you're back to where you started. Wayne, am I crazy here?
Yeah, you're crazy.
Get out.
You're crazy.
Why?
Because Tua is, I can't say his last name. Sorry, he's done. He's fried. There's no way. He's never. He'll never start another game at quarterback in the NFL.
You don't even think he'll stay in Miami?
No.
Interesting. Like I said, I'm not saying he's going to be the wizard. He's not going to be the one that comes in and fixes this team. But I just think if you're going to try something, it's worth a shot. I can hear Paul in my ear right now laughing at me as our resident Miami Dolphins fan going, "Are you serious with this Tua talk? Get out of here. He's got no chance to being the quarterback." And I kind of favor, okay, let's see what the kid's got in Will Howard. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to come back this year. It's bleak. It's a bleak quarterback world out there for Pittsburgh this year. So I don't know. I'm willing to sling it with Tua.
Oh my goodness. I promise I was listening.
I got you.
My camera blacked out, but my microphone did not.
Nick, your camera blacked out because they were shocked into blackness from that pick by Nick.
Get out of here. I'm gone. I'll see you guys later.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? I give you props. They need a quarterback. It's certainly not who I would have taken, but they need a quarterback. Well, that would be something. Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McCarthy would be an interesting combination. Certainly somebody different than what McCarthy has had his entire career. So, all right, there you go, Wayne. Give the floor to you here. Who do the Steelers need in 2026?
Yeah, I'm glad Nick brought it up because he did mention the guy that I think they should take, and that's Kyler Murray.
Get out!
I think Kyler Murray, all right, needs a mentor like Mike McCarthy, and I think that's a perfect fit. Reinvent yourself here in this division. Run the zone read. Run some things. Run around against these defenses. I think it makes it interesting. So if you're going to go out and get a free agent, you're going to make a trade, that's the guy you got to go unless you're going to, draft someone, right? So I would say Kyler Murray would be fantastic. Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, all right, and Shedeur Sanders. What a great mix of quarterbacks.
Pro Bowl quarterback, Shedeur Sanders.
3 Pro Bowl quarterbacks. Well, 4 Pro Bowl quarterbacks. Mike Caller's made one, I think, right?
I think so. I'll fact check that for you.
Crazy. Nick, I think you got the notes from all of us before the show because you mentioned your quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa. You mentioned during your speech the quarterback that Wayne thought the Steelers should go after in Kyler Murray. And you've actually also mentioned the player that I have the Steelers going after in the offseason, Malik Willis. He is the youngest of the 3 options. I actually thought that the Steelers for a time should go after Matt LaFleur, see if he stays in Green Bay, and then get Malik Willis to go with them. But to me, this is the kind of guy you need on your team. Clearly has shown in the last couple of seasons, especially the last few games of the season with Love hurt. He is a mobile, agile, strong-arm quarterback. He can fit the ball in the tight windows. He's also very smart with the football. Doesn't turn it over that often and is capable of picking up first downs. I think he would do wonders in a Mike McCarthy offense for a head coach that, let's be honest, he has not for the majority of his career had a guy who can also be mobile. I mean, Aaron Rodgers for a period of time could be, I understand that. Dak is normally a pocket presence quarterback, others before that. But I think McCarthy would do wonders to have a guy who's young, who's mobile, who can soak in different offenses, and he already knows a lot under Matt LaFleur. I think he would flourish in Pittsburgh, give the Steelers a bit of a new look with the offense, and allow them to be more than just one-dimensional when they get into I formation sets, when they get into run-heavy sets. Malik Willis is my guy, and 3 quarterbacks who I think would help Pittsburgh in different ways. But I just think the youth and opportunity for Malik is huge.
No, I agree. Malik would be my pick. I just don't think they're going to be able to get him. I think, like I said, I think Miami having both, GM ties and head coach ties to Green Bay, I think they go after Malik. Minnesota has been rumored there. Cleveland could drop a bag in front of Malik Willis. I just don't think the Steelers, looking at like what they did with Justin Fields, I don't think that they're going to want to drop that amount of money for a potential quarterback.
Well, Cleveland's not going to go after Malik Willis with a Pro Bowl QB on the roster. I mean, let's keep beating this drum while we got it, right? I mean, I honestly thought, Nick, when you sent that to me earlier today, that it was one of those parody accounts.
I had to fact check it too. Don't worry, I did my due diligence.
Absolutely wild. By the way, In case you're interested, list of quarterback free agents available next season. Daniel Jones is on the market.
He's going back.
Sign him. You're not going to bring back Russell Wilson. Marcus Mariota at 32 years old would be available. Zach Wilson, if you want to go the young route, is also on the Miami Dolphins as it stands now. How about an interesting one? Trey Lance on a $2 million contract with the Chargers is available as well. He could fit into the category, I think, of Malik Willis too. So options for Pittsburgh, never know. But man, oh my goodness, what a situation. All right, let's go to Cleveland. We'll save Buffalo for last because I think it's the most intriguing option. Start with you on this, Wayne. Give me the one guy that the Browns should try to get in the offseason in 2026.
Yeah, we're going to go Spencer Fano, offensive tackle, Utah. We're going to go right to it, and we're going to draft an offensive tackle and try to bring some stability to that offensive line. Short and sweet, simple.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I didn't realize Isaac dropped out. No, I think that makes perfect sense. There's a lot of, they don't really have a lot of needs, but I think the offensive line is big. What was it? They had like 15 different starting offensive line combinations for last year or something like that. I think that makes a ton of sense to me. You could play the quarterback game like we did. Malik Willis is there. You could try and say, okay, well, they need a big wide receiver. Go get George Pickens. I don't think they're a George Pickens type team. I don't see Pickens going to Cleveland at all. Let's double down, and this may be a boring segment for the Browns, but let's double down on the offensive line talk because I absolutely went that way as well. And I'm looking at former Baltimore Ravens center Tyler Linderbaum. Linderbaum's 25. I don't know that he makes it out of the building in Baltimore, but if he does, this is an excellent center, one of the NFL's best centers to come in and anchor that team right now, because if you end up keeping Cam Robertson and Bitonio on the left, and then you have Wyatt Teller and Jack Conklin on the right, anchor that center with Lindenbaum, and I think then, you have a better security blanket for Pro Bowl quarterback Shedeur Sanders.
I also agree with the offensive line pick. That's the direction that I would have gone. I'm going to go somewhat different because the two of you didn't pick a wide receiver, but that offensive line needs so much work. And if they're going to want to protect their Pro Bowl quarterback, they're going to really need upgrade on the offensive line. I can't help myself. I'm so sorry, Browns fans. I love you all. I really do. I'm going to go kind of off the board here for Cleveland, and I don't think there are really any good wide receiver ones that are available in free agency. A lot of the guys are getting older, right? The free agent market for wide receivers is mainly 30, 32. Deebo Samuel, maybe if the Commanders don't re-sign him, I think he probably will go for a lot less. I'm actually going to go with a guy that I think could be under the radar that could be really useful for the quarterback. I think Jawan Jennings would be a good target for the Browns to go after in free agency, particularly because he's young and he's cheap. He's only 28 and a half years old. And I think what we saw is that if you can get a guy who works well in an offensive scheme or as a scheme guy, as a coach, then Jawan Jennings can work because he's a big body. He can be a target down the field. He also can rack up 6-7 catches a game. And I think it then makes Jerry Jeudy at least a little more respectable. And I think the Browns are a team that don't really need 3 or 4 receivers, right? Because they have Fannin at the tight end spot. Judkins has proven he can run the football. So I think if you're Cleveland, you're looking to make small improvements, not necessarily big swings. And I think the lineman that you guys talked about would be great. And I think getting a Jawan Jennings would be a good call too.
No, I like that. He was my non-offensive line pick as well, was Jennings. Malik was up there for me too, but I think Jennings is going to make a lot of money this offseason in like you said, a needy wide receiver free agency. Pickens is the top of the list, but outside of that, it's Alec Pierce. There's not much available there in the free agent market, and the draft doesn't have a whole lot of promising maybe a couple top tier wide receivers, but then it falls pretty short out of there. Stay tuned to the draft podcast for more information on the draft. No, I'm right there with you. I think that's a smart hire for Jennings. Gives Jeudy some more space, and then more weapons for Pro Bowl winning quarterback Shedeur Sanders.
No doubt. And I think Rashid Shaheed could be an option too, especially what he's done with Seattle in the postseason.
He'll stay.
Don't let him go.
Yeah, no, I know.
He'll stay.
I know. They're probably not letting him go. He's gonna. I think he's the Super Bowl MVP, the early front runner. Like if we were talking big bets or take guys that are off the board, he to me punt, kick return TD, or a long passing touchdown, I think he could be an early dark horse favorite. Maybe like what Jawan Jennings did a few years back when he caught 3 touchdowns in that Super Bowl against Kansas City that San Francisco lost. But anyway, let's finish up with Buffalo, gents. Buffalo still doesn't have a head coach. And I'll tell you what, the Terry Pegula press conference, which we didn't really get into, and we will maybe talk about it more next week when and if they do hire a head coach, the franchise might be in some disarray. So I'm curious, Nick, to you first on this. It just doesn't seem like Buffalo needs a lot, but they do, right? I mean, they've got 17, but they still need some weapons, maybe some players on defense. What's your route? Who's the one guy in 2026 they need to add in the offseason?
You know, I think you need that alpha receiver, and I think you saw that. They have a great smattering of slot receivers and tight ends, but they need that alpha wide receiver. You know, I'm tempted to go defensive tackle here, DJ Reader, re-sign Connor McGovern, even on the offensive line. But I just think when you look at that offense, they really got restricted in the playoffs where they couldn't muster enough, and everything was on Josh Allen, and he didn't have enough to do it. So, man, your big swing is George Pickens, but the Bills are pretty strapped in terms of cap situations. I know the cap is mythical and you could always move money around and there's always things, but I just don't – Pickens is going to cash in. So then it's maybe not the sexiest pick as a 32-year-old wide receiver, but Mike Evans makes sense to me in Buffalo. He's still got a little bit left in the tank. Put him beside some of those slot receivers. He's still an outside receiver for Josh Allen. He can be creative in that offense. And then, you know, that gets you enough on the offensive side to put on. Let me put an asterisk next to that one. I'm looking at strictly free agency there. I think if you're the Bills and you want to make a big swing, go trade for A.J. Brown. That's what I think they should do. A.J. Brown's days are limited in Philly. There's obvious discourse between him and Sirianni. I say I'd be knocking on the doors in Philly saying, hey, what would it take? What would it take? And then see what you get.
To you, Wayne, your thoughts.
Well, Nick stole my thunder. That's where I was going. I was going A.J. Brown.
Sorry. I should have shut my mouth at one.
That's all right. It's okay. You know, you stole Jennings. I was going Jennings. You know, so let's just say, hey, you know what? Pegula, he's all in. Let's go with Pickens then. You know what I mean? Let's go get a true number one. Yeah. And let's see what we need to do here. Let's not have the bar down here. You've got a vice president now, you know, Mr. Bean. He's no longer a general manager. You got a vice president and an owner. Like, put your money where your mouth is.
Man, a good call, Wayne. I think wide receivers where they have to go, and I really like the thought process. You guys we're all in lockstep in unison on this here, but I will, as I go to my pick for Buffalo, I will say that I think you guys have good intentions, but you're thinking like millionaires, folks. You need to think like a billionaire on this one. If Buffalo is going to take a big swing,
they're going for Tua.
Well, sure. Yeah, just trade Josh Allen. Yeah,
DK Metcalf.
You know, as much as I think A.J. Brown would do a great service for the Bills, and I think he'd be a great option, George Pickens has certainly proven he can be a wide receiver one. Why not just go get a disgruntled wide receiver who doesn't have a quarterback who's the best receiver in football? I would trade for Justin Jefferson. I would call Minnesota and see whatever it could take for them to get J.J. into Buffalo. Those two together, Allen and Justin Jefferson, I think would set the absolute world on fire. And we saw the last 8 weeks of the season that there is credence for this to be pushed. J.J. McCarthy seemingly clearly isn't the answer in Minnesota. The quarterback market's going to be in flux, right? Minnesota's not going to have an A-list quarterback going into the season next year, you wouldn't think. Justin Jefferson's got 3 years left in a huge contract, so he's under control for 3 more years. And if you're the Bills and you really think that a wide receiver is the biggest and last piece that you need, just go out and get J.J. Trade whatever you have to. If it's 3 firsts, so be it. I mean, you don't really need anything else, right? Maybe you need a linebacker, somebody on the defensive line, but those two together, guys, could you imagine? I mean, he would be making one-finger catches for the home team, not for the opponent in a snow tundra in Highmark.
I mean, I'd say it's not possible, but you see guys like Tyreek, A.J. Brown getting traded the first time, you know, it can definitely happen. And something didn't connect there last year. I mean, you could point fingers at J.J. McCarthy, but I mean, you put J.J. on any team and he's going to be an exceptional wide receiver.
Yeah. I just think, Wayne, when you look at this Buffalo team, right, we keep asking about what do they need in terms of pieces. I mean, I still think that with the roster that they have, they still could go far, but you put that guy in the mix, especially if Joe Brady is your option at head coach, he could drop some designs that would just be unstoppable.
Yeah, that's the $64,000 question. If it's Dable, are you going to be more quarterback run, with Josh? If Dable's the head coach, is he going to bring in a Greg Roman, out of that tree? That's an interesting thing, So which way do you go?
So there we have it. I think we're in lockstep on a lot of these, gentlemen, and it's a good positive end for all three of us to agree after the Mike McCarthy question mark at the beginning of the episode. But
the problem is when we're in lockstep, that means none of it's coming true.
And it's a boring episode. It makes for a very boring.
Means the world's going to end.
That's
going to be minus 25 degrees overnight. Hell is freezing over.
Wait, no, that's a fact. That's a fact. Wind chill's negative 25 tomorrow morning.
Who knows? Wayne and I end up working from home tomorrow. No, we won't. We'll make the drive in.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
Nick, I don't even think you have a class schedule tomorrow.
I don't. No, I'll be working from home tomorrow.
So Nick gets off easy tomorrow. Lucky for him.
I'll sip my tea and watch you guys try to make it to work. Pinky out.
Hey, listen. We'll remember you from our place and work. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough when you got to make that drive. Hey, listen to all of you. Seriously, stay warm. Stay well out there. Hopefully, you don't have to be on the roads too much in the next few days. Obviously, just stay safe. It's going to be very chilly, bitter, snow coming. I mean, I know we're used to that, but still. And thanks again for being with us, guys. This was a lot of fun. Let's do this again next week. I think there's still a lot to get to, and maybe both of these teams have a coach by the end of next week. But I don't know. It's just taking a long time.
Yeah. I mean, Cleveland, they just don't have anybody available, and Buffalo got a late start. So I think at least one will have a coach by next week. But either way, you know what? Shedeur Sanders is a Pro Bowl quarterback.
And Wayne Bradford gets to celebrate for 2 weeks.
Just get Jeff Monken out of Baltimore for me.
Hey, listen, Wayne. Nick and I are both wearing Seahawks jerseys this week. We're on your side, no doubt. Especially,
I'm logging out, and I got to get my new gear. I got to get on the NFL shop and get me some gear for the Super Bowl.
All I can say, brother, is Kenneth Walker better be prepared to run the football in the fourth quarter. That's all I got to say about that. That's my analysis on this Super Bowl.
Amen. I was like, put a fullback back there in that last drive. Put a fullback back there.
Hey, where's Jay? Is John Kuhn able to come out of retirement?
Jay, hand the jet sweep to Shaheed just once, get that last first down. Instead, Darnold keeps it on his own read keep, and if he gives it to Walker, he's got a block around front, he might score. Oh.
Listen, I got to be honest. You made an assumption there for me, IP, and I do love the Seahawks, and I do hate the Patriots, but I love Vrabel and Drake May, so I actually think I'm pulling for the Pats in this one. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm a big Vrabel fan, too.
Next week, Nick is banned.
Vrabel would be a guy I would work for. I would love to work for, and McDonald. Yeah. McDonald's great. You know what I mean? It should be a great game. You know what I mean? But we owe them because this offensive coordinator is not going to throw a slant on the 1 yard line when you have a 330-pound Samoan fullback and Marshawn Lynch in beast mode. Worst call in the history of mankind.
No question.
Offensive coordinators hand the ball off and kick field goals. Sean Payton. Go up 10-0.
Let it
out.
At
home.
Let it
out,
Wayne.
Snow.
Let it out.
You have all these analytics and you don't have a weather guy telling you there's a blizzard coming in the second half.
IP, your mic's not